Each one of us have stories that have never been told. Stories of humor, heartache, triumph, failure, stories of survival, and everything in between. You know, in a time where people are becoming more and more disconnected, my hope is that these stories bring us together again and unite us. Because after all, stories are meant to be shared. I'm Todd Pierce, and this is Untold Stories by Todd. First, I want to just say how excited I am to be sitting with you, Melissa.
Well, I'm honored to be here.
Yeah,
really,
no, it's a special thing. And we were just kind of catching up on our summer because, you know, we both got kids that are going off to college, and that's kind of an exciting time.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
Quinn, tell me the name of your boys.
So Drennan would be 22 coming up on Tuesday the 13th. Quinn.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
It's like right here.
Coming.
Wow.
Yeah, very quickly. Yeah.
Okay.
Quinn just turned 19, and
Okay.
he graduated from Arapahoe and is headed off to Colorado State.
Yeah.
Much to my dismay.
So him and Hayden are going to be rivals.
And I'm a Wyoming girl, and CSU's our biggest rival.
I mean, that is kind of like those are three schools that really compete.
I am not happy about it.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Are you wearing any CSU gear?
I have one shirt.
Yeah.
And but I wore it with my Wyoming cowboy stitched boots. So
Don't you think there's a market for those rivalry schools where you could like split the shirt?
Yeah,
I'm
not ready to split though.
Oh, okay. You're a diehard.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. So it's a hard, and it was a hard decision for Quinn too. I mean, he's grown up going up to games up there, and my whole family went there, and that's part of the reason why he was like, I just want to try something different. So,
yeah.
So anyway, he'll be starting there in 2 weeks, and then I have a son, Sean, who's a sophomore, and actually that's how we met you.
Yeah.
With our younger boys playing football.
That was they were probably 7 or 8, or I mean, how old were they?
3rd or 4th grade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Carson then he played football for 2 years, I think, and then he got out of it, and he's back playing it again.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's been playing. He played last year, and he's playing this year, and he's taking it pretty serious.
Good for him.
He's enjoying it.
I wish Sean was. He's playing tennis, which is a great sport, but it's a little, it's as a parent of football and lacrosse, you have to cheer really differently in tennis. You have to be really quiet. It's a golf.
Yeah.
Yes, he's had to tell me a few times, you can't yell that stuff, Mom. You can't yell. So, so it's a whole different ball game. You have to be very polite and so
your outfits change.
Yeah. So anyway, he's playing tennis and really likes it. He did that last year. He played through 8th grade and then just decided he didn't want to play. So.
Well, I think that as long as the kids have something that's like outside of school, whether it's a club or a sport or something that they're doing.
Yeah.
Hayden was, we were talking about going to school, and I'm like, you're really not going to know what to do with yourself, because he was, editor-in-chief of one of the things at Arapahoe, and then he was running cross-country and track, and then he had his studies, and he had, I think, 3 AP classes, so he told me that he thinks he was logging like 100 hours a week. I think he's exaggerating a little bit, but he's like, and now like he has 50 minutes of class on Thursday, going up to CU. And he's got no extracurricular. Yeah. Like he hasn't joined any clubs or anything yet. And he's not going to be working. He's like, you're going to freak out in 2 weeks, I promise. Yeah.
I remember when we were up at CSU for the orientation, they showed like a 15-hour schedule, and they called it the boat schedule. Like, they said because you're going to go out to Horsetooth and meet somebody with a boat at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They're like, really, that's not what it should be.
Right.
Because you are used to being in class all day, and then your extracurriculars, and here, you just like you said, like one class maybe one day. And so then they filled it in with what those other hours should be.
Oh, that's
and
good.
And it was I think an eye opener. Well, for me, because I had forgotten that, but also for Quinn, just to see like you can't you're in class not that much, but you still have to study, and you have that time management piece is so important.
And you've got to fill it. You've got to find some other interests, and just like you did in high school, you've got to fill it.
Yeah, he's planning on rushing. Is Hayden gonna?
No, Hayden's not not going to rush. I mean, maybe his junior or sophomore year, but I don't think that's up his alley.
Yeah. We'll see. He's plenty. And then he never had a desire. He was always in athletics, but never had a desire to play in college. But would really like to do intramurals, and he didn't like the seriousness of some of the varsity sports. He's just like, I just want to have fun.
I think Hayden will get involved in a lot of that intramural stuff, and or they've got hiking clubs and all kinds of other. I mean, that's the one cool thing about both of those schools is they do have a ton of resources.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, and Quinn, his girlfriend's going to see you, so we'll see what happens there.
She's going to see you. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh wow.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Geez, the big rivalry.
Yeah. So, anyway, it's an exciting time though.
It is
scary, I think, as parents. I don't know if you're feeling that way, but just like
it's like this,
Yeah.
And then Carrie and I talk about it. It is this weird natural evolution that the kids kind of bring us through, though. Whether it's getting out of elementary or this high school thing. I mean, he really did start to disappear a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but he was either busy with school or he was busy with friends.
Yeah.
And we as a family, because Carson's going to be a sophomore,
right,
and so we found ourselves around the dinner table a lot, whether it's just the three of us.
Yeah.
And we've gotten kind of used to it. Not to say that we're not going to all be really, really sad, because we are. I mean, that day's coming in a couple of weeks, but they do kind of get us used to it, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know about Hayden, but I know Quinn, there are days where I think, oh yeah, you're ready to go. Like he kind of is pretty obstinate and like, well, I can do that. I'm 19, and I'm like, okay, it's time for you to go.
Yeah, Hayden was like that as a junior.
Yeah. But Quinn's kind of a homebody too, so he is home a lot. So it'll be weird. It's Sean, the sophomore, who's gone all the time.
Yeah.
I told him when Quinn leaves, I said, you got to talk to me. Like, you need to talk to me and spend some time with me. So
that's my big thing with Hayden is like, punch in.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one that's always, I don't want to feel like a nag.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one that's always calling and feeling like I'm interrupting.
Right.
Like, I don't care if we even had a schedule. Like, maybe on Sundays you give me 30 minutes and just we can have a cup of coffee together or something.
Yeah.
And
that's Sean, so for sure.
Yeah. But I am worried that I won't hear from him. Like, he's going to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess that's what you want, right?
In a way, you want them to be independent for sure, go out and fly
and
and have new experiences and do all that for sure. Yeah.
But
so, and you had a great summer?
Yes. Yeah, we've done some traveling. Went to Belize for a couple of days, 10 days, and really enjoyed that. I'd never been there. And
did you dive?
No, we're not divers. We went snorkeling.
I saw some jumping off the cliffs and stuff.
Yep. Well, that was actually up at this last weekend up in Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
Up at a lake up there.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful lake that we go to every year with family.
Yeah.
But no, we went snorkeling one day. We went fishing one day. Deep sea fishing, and they actually, whatever we caught, and then the boat captains went out and speared lobster for us, and then we went to a beach and they cooked it all up for us.
You're kidding.
It was...
That sounds 5-star.
So incredible.
Yeah.
Like, so amazing. And then one day we went back to the mainland and drove in and did some Mayan ruins, and just a beautiful country, very poor.
Yeah.
It's a third world country, but the people are beautiful, and what I really like about Belize is you're very integrated with the people.
Yeah.
You're not separated, and there's lots of tourists there.
Yeah.
It's their number one economy, and 13% of their population is Amish, which was really interesting to see.
Knew?
Amish people.
Who knew?
In overalls and but
that's more than Colorado.
Yeah, it was. The first time I saw it, I said, "Really? Like, did I just see a guy in a buggy?" And it was. But they were originally settled by the British.
Oh, right.
And actually just won their independence in '81.
Oh, wow.
And I think the British. I think he said that they offered like the Pennsylvania Dutch some kind of tax because they were mahogany.
Yeah.
That's why they settled there, and then they brought the Amish in to help with that or whatever.
This is like the teacher in you coming out, because you're making me feel
and
really bad about my vacations because I don't know any of that stuff. Like, I don't know when they were founded.
And I teach world history too, so I'm like, I love this stuff. So anyway, so that was a great trip, and each of the boys took friends with them. And,
oh, really? Okay.
So that was it's an interesting to try to feed 4 teenage boys. And
I've heard that
yeah.
though, that sometimes when you want the kids to come with you, you really need to just include their buddies.
Yeah. I think it was good.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and
Yeah.
in some ways I wished. Yeah.
You want some family time
And
too,
and
right?
it was really supposed to be Quinn's kind of like, okay, you graduated, what do you want to do? And he brought a friend in, and we're like, well, we don't really want Sean hanging out with 18, 19-year-old boys, so why don't you bring a friend? So
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, so we did that, and then we I'm from Wyoming, so we always go up to Frontier Days every year
Yeah.
and
I've
spend
always
time
wanted
with
to do
family
that.
up there and hit
Yeah.
a couple concerts up and
Yeah.
get to see all my friends from
Yeah.
that I grew up with and
Yeah.
and then and then went up to Wyoming again last weekend to the
Yeah.
lake, and that's
Yeah.
been it. Now I'm going back to work on Monday.
Yeah,
So,
crazy. And you took the time to come over here and say
Yeah,
hello.
well, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because, I mean, I've watched your story over
Yeah.
the years, and I've seen your family just become this, amazing, unit of inspiration for so many people. I mean, it gives me chills to talk about. And, I'm sure you hear it all the time, but you know that you're a huge inspiration to the community.
Yeah.
And I'm sure beyond. I mean, just not only your story and what you're doing with the foundation, but just your family in general. Can you talk a little bit about, Drennan and what had happened?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first I'll just say that this is all by accident. I mean, meaning, having a foundation, and certainly not where we thought our life would be. We thought we'd have a son getting ready to start a senior year of school, and, who knows what else he'd be doing. So Drennan is our oldest son, and when he was 12 and a half, and he was a very accomplished athlete, and very well-rounded as well. Like, he was like chess club and Scrabble club, and then quarterback of the football team.
Charismatic and socially
in trouble all the time. I mean, but also a leader, sometimes good, sometimes bad, just kind of, but just a great, big personality.
Yeah.
And he had started his 7th year of competitive swim season. We swam up at South Glen Country Club, and on June 5th, and won, all of his races and qualified for All-Stars in that first meet of the season.
Yeah.
Which is pretty hard to do. Kids work all season to do that, and he qualified in 3 of his events and I think his relay team set a record, medley relay team, and anyway, just a great swimmer. And so on Sunday, June 6th, he just got up in the morning. He loved to read, and he was reading one of our favorite authors, a Wyoming author, C.J. Box. If you ever want to read a good murder mystery, full of blood and murder and all kinds of stuff. It's a great book, and he was just finishing that up, and I was going for a run, and I'm like, do you want to come with me? He's like, no, I'm going to finish this book. And I mean, really, he was at 12 and a half. Those are not easy books for them to read. But anyway, kind of went through the day, and then he went to a birthday party at 7 o'clock up at South Glen. And
where all the swim meets were.
Yeah, all the swim meets, and it was about 30 kids, and good friends of ours had the birthday party, and at 7:30 we got a phone call, and they said, you better get up here. And I was thinking, and they said, he was unconscious, and I was thinking, well, he's just screwing around, because Drennan but certainly he's fine. He was swimming. I never worried about my kids in water. They all swam.
Right.
But we get up there, and we knew pretty quickly that things were bad. And so anyway, he went to Littleton Hospital, and he passed away about 9:30 that night. So but so something that we really focus on, and we learned pretty quickly that there was a lot of things that weren't done correctly. I mean, for example, they didn't know that the lifeguards didn't know that there was an AED machine, and it was like 10 feet away from them. They didn't know, the address of the place. They didn't know.
Oh my gosh.
They had just even done a lifeguard shift at 7:28, and he was found right underneath an unmanned lifeguard chair. So there was
should have been a fresh set of eyes.
Well, and really the first one should have, up in the chair, should have seen him.
Yeah.
And didn't even see it in the shift, and it was too late anyway. We know he was underwater for about 10 minutes. So anyway, we now our foundation, through the
What's the name of the foundation?
Drennan's Dreams Foundation.
Yeah.
And a friend of ours Jennifer Darling, works for Children's Hospital. She is.
How do I know that name? Darling?
Her son Andrew.
Yeah.
Graduated last year. Goes to School of Mines, and then she has a daughter who's going to be a senior, Allie Darling, and she's lives in the community, and she is a big in the nonprofit world. Okay. And she is actually now the head fundraiser at Children's Hospital of Denver or of Colorado. Wow. So she. And just a very, very good friend of mine, and I remember not long after it happened, she said, we really need to, we need to remember Drennan, and we need to do something about this. And, and of course that first year or 2 years, I was pretty out of it. But pretty quickly we knew we needed to do something. And so we started not really focusing on water safety. We belonged to St. Timothy's Episcopal Church down the street, and Drennan was just starting youth group there and loved it. And we'd always talked there about building a youth center and never did. And boy, right away we started raising money, and the community jumped in, and we built a beautiful space down there. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Yeah.
No, I didn't even know that.
It's called the D Zone, and it is beautiful.
Wow.
And so we got that done. We actually cut the ribbon exactly 2 years after Drennan passed away, so in 2012.
Okay.
So that was kind of our first big thing. And then we kind of just dabbled in some other stuff, really weren't a nonprofit yet. And then we had a board member, Rick Bruno. I don't know if you know the Brunos.
Was he coach?
Nope, he's big, and they have 4 kids in the Arapaho and in this community.
Okay.
And he really just said, look, the elephant in the room is he drowned, and we need to focus on that as a board. And so we really started working on our nonprofit, and boy, it just took off from there. And we really weren't sure what we were going to do, and then Highlands Ranch in 2014 called Bill and said, hey, we have some lifeguards, would you just be willing to share Drennan's story? And he was like, well, sure. And then that was one pool that summer, and then I think it grew to 50 the next year, and we've probably talked to, now we're nationwide. We're part of Red Cross.
I see Bill traveling
all over.
Like a lot.
He travels. Yeah. We're part of anyone who goes through Red Cross training or recertification. We have about an 8-minute piece in that now.
So that's part of everybody's training.
Everybody, yeah, it's
that's
called
crazy.
Not on Your Watch.
Wow,
and so
that's exciting.
We, we've heard from Duke University, we've heard from University of Texas. We've worked with people. We have videos that people can download. So, and I will say that the foundation is really Bill's. He really finds a great satisfaction in that work. It's a little harder for me. I don't really enjoy it as much.
What do you mean?
I don't find satisfaction working with that. I do it because it's my son, but it's not something that, like, Bill would love. He's a general contractor, and he would love to work for the foundation full time. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's just not. It's not something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it, and I'm proud of the work that they do, but I kind of take a back seat.
I think that's okay, because if it touches you, then that's, it touches him, and so that's why he's doing it.
And I like to organize. We do a race every year.
Yeah, we've
the
done
Splash
the race.
Dash. Yeah, so I help organize that, and we have a reception coming up on September 12th, and I help organize that. So I don't mind. I like that kind of those things, but I don't enjoy telling Drennan's story. Mm-hmm. I've had to do it a few times, and I do not enjoy that. And I just, for me, it's like I can get kind of negative, a little bit negative, and like, I don't want to do this.
There's probably still a lot of anger there.
Yeah, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, right.
But I'm proud of it, and I'm proud that his name's out there, and I'm proud that we're talking about him today. And we were videotaped yesterday for another thing, And I'm really proud of that, but I wish he was here. You know, I would turned all this away for that.
Oh my God! Well, I mean that goes without saying for sure.
Yeah. So I kind of take a backseat, but we found we're friends with a lot of people around the nation who've lost children to drowning, and that's usually the case. Like one spouse really does, and the other kind of takes a backseat. And I would say that's.
How did you figure that out as a couple? As a I mean how.
You know, we pretty quickly after he died, like I remember like 2 days I was looking frantically for services like counseling in because I just wanted to feel better.
Yeah. And
everybody said you have to wait 6 months. And I was like, what? I can't feel like this for 6 months. But there's a reason for that because it really doesn't ever go away. And
everybody said you shouldn't do anything for 6 months?
Yeah. I mean, we did so let's see, June. We did in November, there was a bereavement group at Children's Hospital that we did a pretty maybe 3 or 4 week one. But yeah, they really encourage you not to go into some programs, most programs, until you have some time to kind of get through things.
That had to have been, I mean, I don't know, was it, that to me it seems like that would be a really hard period of time. Yeah, because I was just like you have a cold, and you take medicine to feel better, and you'll feel better. I would probably be the same way.
You don't feel better. You know what I mean? And that's, but I needed to just take something to feel better. And looking back, there was nothing that was going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Like you have to go through some of the, like you have to get through a funeral and you have to get through the first month and you have to kind of get through some things before I think you can even begin to work on some of those other things. So we did a bereavement group.
That was probably really good advice from whoever you got it.
Yeah, it was, and it was hard though.
Yeah.
But we did that right before the holidays, and that was helpful. And then we did.
Did you do that as a couple or as a family?
Yes, a couple, and then they have programs for our kids. And at the time, Quinn was 9, and Sean was 6. So Quinn had just turned 10. So it was, just. They were young, and they had programs for them. But then one of the best programs that I plug all the time is Judy's House, which was started by Brian Greasy.
I've heard of Judy's House.
Yeah, and his mother passed away when he was young, and there was nothing out there for children. So we started that in March of 2011, and that was a unbelievable program and very intensive, 10 weeks. Parents and
every
then
day.
Kids once a week.
Okay.
And you really make a commitment to that, but really helpful for my children, which is they're like the they're the place for children's grief. I mean, they really focus on children's grief as well as supporting the parents. So
I would think, especially at those ages, that those grieving periods were the way that you grieve were like almost night and day.
Yeah. Right. Oh,
those
yeah.
ages
and kids,
for the kids were.
I remember. So Quinn had started 4th grade, and Drennan was going to play lacrosse, which we had never done before, and Quinn really wanted to play lacrosse, but he played football.
Yeah.
It was his first year of football, and then when lacrosse season came around, he's like, I don't, in his little 4th grade way, said, I don't want to play up here, and so. Because everybody knows Drennan. I want to go. So we played down in Castle Rock. So I'll drive him down there. And he just needed a little bit of space. Yeah. And
it wasn't even, you don't even think of that because Drennan does kind of, take up a lot of energy.
Yeah, and his personality did, and his impact did.
Right.
And so, I will say though that those, kids definitely grieve differently, and even Sean at 6, he didn't understand it, and I would say probably of both of my boys, like he still struggles probably the most because he doesn't remember him like we do, and so he's definitely, and we talk about him all the time, and of course Drennan's Dreams Foundation, and he's a big part of this community still, but he struggles with that, just. Whereas Quinn can kind of remember him more, and they were. Does
he struggle with kind of a guilt thing, or is it just frustration?
I think I'm not really sure. I think it's more like he doesn't remember him like
just wish he could.
Other people do. He doesn't. You know, and they did tell us that when you go through a traumatic event like that, like you're kind of stuck at that age.
Oh, I've heard that
and
too.
So when he was about 12,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we kind of rebooted some counseling in because you were kind of stuck at a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to get
like that.
Well, exactly.
Really? Yeah.
And the therapist that we've worked with throughout the years, on and off, you know, he just said, he told me one time, he said, probably 95% of the people I work with in here are people who didn't deal with grief and loss in a healthy way when they were younger, and they have to come back and deal with it.
I'm just thinking, have I?
Yeah. Well, I think that all the time. I don't know
Yeah.
if I, you know, because I would say it definitely ebbs and flows. You know, for a while we're okay, and then you know, graduation was really hard this year. You know, and I probably way overdid it. You know, and luckily, and you know, Quinn was like, "Mom,"
you mean just like spoil him, or
I think I did everything. I had a quilt made. I had a great party. You know, just looking back, I mean, it was wonderful, and it was great, but I probably didn't need to do that. But I really wanted to.
There's no regrets
on
that,
but and Quinn didn't mind.
Exactly.
But I really felt like I missed out on that with Drennan. You know, I didn't get to do any of that. Maybe, looking back on that, I've kind of reflected on that a little bit, and I was just, you know, I'm a teacher, and you know, the end of the year and how stressful that is for us, and then graduation and all that, and I look back and I think, gosh, why did I make such a big deal out of all that? Like you know, just and I like volunteered for every possible thing that I could, you know, after prom, you know, and I've always done that, but I think I really went overboard last year.
I wonder if you were filling your time to just kind of to avoid having some downtime.
Yeah, and I tend to be that way.
Yeah, I'm that way too.
I'm pretty good about putting things in boxes.
I'm good in boxes. I've got boxes all over my house.
Yeah.
And up there too.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at that, you know, and it's probably not very healthy sometimes, but
sometimes it is really healthy.
Yeah, it does, and you know, and that's why I think I'm probably, you know, the loss of Quinn is like, oh gosh, you know, now it's just another person gone, so
I can hear what you're saying, only in that, you know, Hayden's going to be leaving, and so it's like I was saying before, you know, it's just been the three of us at the table.
Yeah.
And for you, I can't imagine those days, you know, months, and even today, you know, where it was just one less person at the table. It's got to be so.
I'm glad he's close. He really looked at going to Washington State, and could have seen him there.
Yeah.
But he was the one who said, I don't really think I want to go that far.
Yeah.
And I was really happy.
I think that's smart.
Yeah. So, and you know, his two friends he lost this year, those Nick and Sam, were two of his very, very best friends.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Nick was one of his very best friends. They'd played lacrosse together since 4th grade. So Quinn, definitely that impacted him, and I think he realizes, like, as I said, he's a little bit of a homebody, and he really realizes, if I need to come home, I can come home.
It's probably going to be really good for him to go out, more so than all other high schoolers who are just going out and flying, right? I think it's going to be especially good for Quinn.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's going to be able to go out and really, I mean, he's got all the confidence and the support that he needs, you know? I mean, he really does, and now he's going to be able to go out and kind of put that to the test.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I'm kind of proud of him. None of his good friends are going up there. You know, a lot of them are going to CU or out of state, and he's rooming with someone he doesn't know, and you know, so I think he'll do just fine.
Yeah,
you know, and I think it will be good. I think a lot of this particular class, they've had a lot of loss, and they're ready for some change. Yeah. So anyway, it's just you know, it's. But, you know, kind of back to our family, though, I think that we're all we've gone through a lot of counseling, and but we find that sometimes we're in little dips where we kind of need to reboot, and
I imagine they come at separate times.
Sure.
Obviously, right?
Sure. Yeah. And we all grieve really differently, and but we're very aware of that, and
how does Bill do?
So Bill,
I mean, he's been able to immerse himself in the foundation,
and I think that's how he does. He, as I said, finds a lot of satisfaction working for that.
Yeah.
He's probably more when he really needs to grieve, like he's more very open about it. Whether that comes out as working really hard in the foundation, or being angry, or just whatever. I tend to be like, I'm going to go to bed for 2 days.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. That's a really good analogy. Those are two different. Yeah, that paints a picture.
But
really
we know
easily.
that,
Right.
And that's something we really learned is we have to let each other do that, and you can't I can't go around and try to fix him when he's like
and
that.
it's not just a switch. It's not like if you're in that moment, it's not like you can just shut it off.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't go up to him and say, what do you need? I like sometimes I'll say you're having a hard time, or he'll say I'm really struggling right now. Like next week will be hard for us. It's probably a little harder for me. His birthday is, but I know to just kind of he needs to just do whatever he needs to do, and he won't come up to me and say, I'm worried about you. Are you going to be okay if you're laying in bed? I'm like, he just knows. Okay, you need to just sleep for a while.
Yeah.
I always say grief is exhausting, like physically exhausting.
Yeah. Do you? I mean, it's just hearing you talk like this. I mean, you could going what you've gone through. I mean, you probably got the credentials to be a counselor, right? I mean, you would be able to give. Well, I mean, you could give really good sound advice to people going through similar situations. I mean, you could. Not that you ever would.
Yeah.
But don't you think you could?
I think that it's kind of a double-edged sword. People sometimes will say to me, "You're so strong. I could never do what you do," and I know that they mean well. However, I will say, you don't have a choice when something like this happens. Right. I suppose you have one choice. You could end it and be done, which, is always at the back in the beginning, especially oh, this is just too painful.
Too much, yeah.
But never really, you realize, I can't do that to my children. I can't do that to, of course that's not the answer. You don't have a choice. And so if you went through the same, you wouldn't have a choice. You just have to keep going.
But I think that some people may choose other things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm saying that you guys are.
Yeah.
You have choices.
You do.
I mean, you have the severe choice that you're talking about.
Yes.
I mean, you could just say, "Listen, I'm done. I can't do this anymore." But you also have a choice that you kind of, just know and trust that you're going to get through it. Not to mention, you kept your family intact.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to know what the percentages are there where families
it's
just
80%.
Is it really?
That don't make it.
That don't make it. I thought you were saying on the other side, and I was going to be surprised. But
yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you can't say that you didn't make some really good choices.
I will tell you, Bill's now 7 years sober. He doesn't drink anymore. We both pretty heavily self-medicated for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And I stopped, and he was not able to, and he quit drinking 7.5 years ago, and so yes, those are there, and we were able to.
How do you not fall into that?
It's nasty.
It's I can see how it would just be.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to dig your way out of it. I mean, it's just you're escaping. I get it, but I can tell you I probably would go down that road too.
You might, but you would figure out a way, and everybody does. Not everybody, but I guess for me, I can't even say how I got here. It's just all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, gosh, it's been 9 years. I can't even believe that. And so when you realize that, all of a sudden, for me, I will say, I feel guilty. I feel like, oh my gosh, our life has gone on. We have fun. We laugh. We're still really sad, but it's I don't really know how I got from June 6th to today, except for I often share this with my high school students, is that like the human spirit is just a fighter.
It is.
Like it really, really is. Like it just fights.
It is.
And your heart may not want to, or your head may not want to, but there's just something that gets you up every day, and it's like, okay, I just gotta get going.
It is weird. Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're here.
Yeah.
So maybe not here in a very graceful way, and people limp along and fall, and
that's
for
life,
sure,
right? I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has all of this made you appreciate it a little bit more, or I mean, just like your moments as a family, your moments just here on the planet, like we all get kind of caught up, and we don't. Everybody talks about you just need to live in the moment more.
Yeah.
Are you guys? Are you?
Yeah,
able to
I
do
think,
that,
and we, how sometimes life just is a drudge, right?
Yeah.
And so Bill and I try to remind each other.
The grind on my office door.
Yeah, there you go. It is. and so we try to remind each other, okay, let's step back here for a minute. Like we need to just suck up every moment that we can.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, back to like Quinn's senior year, like we were just like, oh my God, I need to like every moment, like eke every second I can out of him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say we definitely try to spend more time together as a family. There are our priorities have changed. I would say for me personally, I'm pretty picky about like who I want to spend my time with. My time is, I need to be around people who are positive. It's hard for me to be around people who whine a lot, and sometimes people might see me as being like, oh my gosh, like but I don't have a lot of patience for certain things, that people complain about.
I don't either, but I can imagine how your sensitivity to that would be heightened.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you whining about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, I mean, you don't even know. And I got in, I remember last year when people were going away to college and everyone was crying, and now I'm going to be the same way when my kid goes, but I had reminded people, like, hey, you get to see your kid. Remember those of us who our kid never gets to come home.
I know.
Even though I'll be super sad when I drop him off, I'm so excited for where he's going in his life.
Yeah.
But I have a child who will never come home again. And so some of these people just fall apart and, just cannot even fathom their life going on, and their kid gets to come home.
Yeah.
For Christmas.
Yeah. Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah, so I find that in that sense I'm kind of, I don't know if it's jaded or what. And I remember one time one of my siblings, I come from a large family, and I've always kind of been the middle fixer, and one of my siblings asked, when are you gonna be the way you used to be? And I said, I'll never be that way.
When are you gonna lighten up on us?
I'll never be that way again.
Yeah.
So definitely changed me as a person. So, yeah.
Seems like you live in a very like conscious world in that regard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a daily choice to pick who you're going to surround yourself with.
Yeah, it really is.
Because people can kind of bleed in and sneak in, and next thing you know, you've got a couple of people that are like that in your circle that are bringing you
toxic
down.
And
yeah,
and I think I work with at-risk kids, and I think like also looking at some of their stories though, and thinking, oh, again, like you have no idea how hard. We all have struggles in our life, and I hope that I'm sensitive to never looking at somebody and saying, oh, you have it so easy, because I know every single person out there has a story and struggles.
I have a sister who, is struggling with stuff right now, and it's a little maddening, It's like you're a capable person, like, let's get the show on the road here a little bit.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to watch that, especially when you hear stories like this and families that are able to kind of rise up. I mean, it's like, it gives me goosebumps again, It's like, you look at some of these people and it's like, you've got all the tools, just use them.
Yeah, and again, the kind of like, you have choices, and you have to fight every day, and there might be a day where you are not your best at all, you know.
But you put them together after a month, and you
after
hopefully
9 years,
and after 9 years.
Yeah, and you hope that you've, been not, and I would never say that I'm an inspiration or anything for anybody. However, I hope that people can look at me and say, okay, like, I will live this. I will survive this. I remember looking at people when it just happened and say, how did you do that? How? And here I am, and you will.
Yeah.
But it's rough.
That's really incredible. That's neat though. And then Bill's traveling around and touching all these people, and you're part of the Red Cross. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, he does great work. So
yeah.
The foundation is really, and definitely making a difference.
Where do you want to? Where do you or he? What's the end goal for the foundation? I mean, is there one, or?
We would love to eventually.
Is it staffed?
We just hired an executive director a year ago.
Okay.
Yep. So, and we're in an interesting situation because we're really known nationally, but locally we're not as known. And so one of our goals is to really get into some of these little community pools and work with lifeguards, because that's what we do is we go around and speak to lifeguards and aquatics managers and share what went wrong, and really encourage, and drowning is 100% preventable. Like if you just do these things, and you should never have a drowning. But we are, I think, that's one of our goals is to get in to the local little community pools. We do great with rec centers. And then, someday, eventually, making some changes. We work with the Families United group, which is all parents, made up of parents who've lost kids many different ways to drowning, and doing some legislative changes. At what we do, we focus on lifeguards, but really making sure that it's kind of left up to individual places on what they do. I
was watching one of Bill's speeches, and he was talking about, lifeguards are definitely a part of it, and you want to hit those, but it was also kind of the management on down.
You bet. And we found out through our process that the general manager had no idea what his lifeguards were doing, and they're 15 and 16 years old. Right. These two lifeguards weren't. They were older, and they had been lifeguards for a long time, but...
Those poor lifeguards too, though, really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be, I don't know how you feel, but...
I do feel
it's gotta bad be hard. How old were they?
20... They were sisters.
Little different for 20-year-olds, I guess.
18 and 21, maybe, and but they weren't paying attention.
Right.
They absolutely were not paying attention. I mean, it should have been geez, Drennan, you were so lucky that because we don't really know what put him under. I mean, we don't. We've had all medical tests run. There was nothing medically wrong. I think he got caught under. There was a big raft. Kids were playing on it, like playing King of the Hill, and I think he got caught under it. Oh. But they, one lifeguard chair nobody was even in it. I mean, they were not paying attention.
I mean, that might be another thing that's, it's not preventative, but like they should have cameras around.
Right. So we would love to see almost like a hotel, a 5-star hotel. We would love to see pools get ratings, so that parents go in there and know that, hey, this pool has been certified, and these lifeguards are, are getting constant, and there would be criteria for that, but one of them would be constant in-service training, training on how to look for drowning, just different criteria for making sure that those young kids are as prepared as possible, and are supported by the management and the owners or whoever's up there. So, but it's not, and drowning is the #1 cause of death for children 4 and under.
I know. I mean, I think that I have a friend he's 50 and he has 2 toddlers basically, and we were just talking about this interview today, and he's like, "It's my worst fear," and I can remember it being my worst fear up until the age where you felt like they were safe, and then so
and Drennan
the thing is just amazing.
Well, and it's the #2, 3 for boys 17 to 10. Of accidental, and so it's like we cannot get traction on a national level, like federally. We work with Consumer Product Safety Commission, but to like get what I always compare it when the Ebola virus came, and how up in arms and all the money that went to go fight. And I think like one person here, and it I mean, horrible, but it really I think it killed like maybe 13 people. And then you look at drowning. There's been 49 drownings in Lake Superior, or one of the Great Lakes this summer already. There's been 67 in Texas. There's been I don't know how many here. That, you know, drowning is
in the hundreds,
prevalent.
Yeah.
Like, and we cannot get people and parents, and you go to a pool and parents are doing this, and you know, and anyway, it's just that's our end goal. Is we just really when you go and take a baby in to a pediatrician and they check a car seat, we want them to talk to you about water safety. When you build a home with a pool, we want a fence around it. When you're at a pool with lifeguards, we want to make sure that those lifeguards are doing what they're supposed to do. So and parents are paying attention. So
no matter what the age.
Layers of protection, we call it. So
yeah. Well, I think it's inspiring that the foundation lives on and has so many big, you know, goals. But more inspiring for you and your family that you know you've stayed together and you've touched the community and you continue to touch people. And it's really, you know, nice to see. And I just congratulate you on, you know, all that you and Bill have done.
Well.
I know it's hard to hear
I mean,
for you, I guess,
it's just, again, it's by accident. It's certainly nothing, it all fell into place, and I don't know how, and I think we have bigger things ahead of us, but, I never would have really thought we'd head down this path, even after he died. You know, but it kind of just, things happen, and I think things have been put in our way that have been really positive and helped us move forward, and people in this community has been so supportive, and
it's a good community.
It's so great. I don't know what we would do without it. So
Unfortunately, we're a really strong community for a lot of these reasons.
For sure. We've been through a lot. So.
Well, I thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me share Drennan's story and our story, and you know, we're certainly nothing special. However, you know, hopefully, you know, somebody who's grieving or going through some kind of loss can, you know, at least realize that you will.
There'll be a tomorrow.
Yeah, there will be. So
Well, that's great.
So anyway,
thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate
really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.